This video looked at some warm-up questions. So we're looking at order of operation when you multiply, divide, times and subtract numbers. We're also looking at lowest common multiples and highest common factors, looking at powers and roots, and we're also introducing some rounding to decimal places. Now the timing of each question there is in red, so feel free to skip to the question you're interested in. Question 1. Now what we need to know for question 1 is the order of operations, or how we like to say it as BOMDAS. So what this means, this is the order that we do the signs in the equations. So BOMDAS stands for brackets of, so you do the brackets first, multiplication, division, addition and subtraction. Now multiplication and division are equal weighting, so if you see multiplication and division, you do it left to right. And that's the same for addition and subtraction. So multiplication and division are higher ranked than addition and subtraction. If you see addition and subtraction in the same question, you again work from left to right. So let's go and try these three questions. We'll start with an easy one. -4 minus 3 times minus 2. So we need to do the multiplication first, because multiplication has higher ranking than the minus sign here. So we'll do 3 times minus 2, and that equals positive 6, minus 3 times minus 2. A minus times a minus is a positive. So now I'm going to write this now as -4 plus 6. And that will be -4 plus 6 will equal 2. Let's have a look at the second one now. We have an addition sign, we have a divide sign, and we have a minus sign. Well, we have to do the divide sign first. So let's do the divide sign first. Well, 8 divided by -2 is -4. When you have a positive number divided by a negative number, you end up with a negative number. So I'm going to write that as -4. So I'm going to write this whole equation again as 4. Now, I can write it as 4 plus -4, and that's how I will write it. I could also have just written that as 4 minus 4. Same thing, but I'll leave it here just so it's nice and clear. So 4 plus -4 minus 3. Well, 4 plus -4 is 0. Minus 3. Final answer, -3. Last one now. Now this is a bit tricky. We've got some big brackets here, so we need to do all of this bracket first before we can times it by 2. So let's look at what's inside the bracket. We have a divide sign and we have an addition sign. So we need to do the divide sign first. So -24 divided by -8. When you divide two minus numbers, you end up with a positive number. So -24 divided by -8 is 3. So I'm going to write this as 3 plus -5. Now I'm going to close all the bracket, times 2. So this is what we have so far. Now usually a multiplication would come first before the addition, but we need to do the brackets first. So we need to do this 3 plus -5. So 3 plus -5 is the same as saying 3 minus 5, and that's -2. So we have -2, I'll write it in brackets, so that's how we like to keep it, times 2. -2 times 2 is -4. Question 2, we're looking for what's called the lowest common multiple. That's what this LCM stands for. Now, what does that actually mean? Let's first look at this M, which stands for the word multiple. Now, a multiple, I'll use this first one example. A multiple of 4 is all the numbers that you can times by 4 to get. So 4 times 1 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 4 times 3 is 12, 4 times 4 is 16. So these are all the multiples of 4. Now I'm going to keep going this a little higher. So 4 times 5 is 20, 24, 4 times 6 is 28, and I'll stop there for now. Now let's do the same for 7. Let's look at all the multiples of 7. You got 17, then you got 7, you got 14, you have 21, and then you have 28, and then I'll leave it also there. So these are all the multiples of 7. So what I'm trying to find is the lowest common multiple between these two numbers. Now, the lowest will be the number that has both multiples. So look, when I've gone down here, I get to 28. This is a multiple of 4, and also 28 is a multiple of 7. But no number before that was common to both. This is the first time that it's appeared. So our lowest common multiple of 4 and 7 is 28. Let's have a look at the second one now. I like to write these out. So 8, the next multiple of 8 is 16. The next one is 24. Now I think I could probably stop there and you'll see why. 12, well the next multiple of 12 is 24, and there. So these are common. So our lowest common multiple equals 24. Question 3 now looks at this highest common factor. That's what HCF stands for. And it's sort of the opposite of what we did in question 2 with lowest common multiple. So this time we're trying to find the highest common factor of these two numbers, in this case 20 and 8. So let's look now what factor means. Factor are numbers which go into, when you times to go into the number. So let's look at 20. Well, I'm going to write out now all the factors of 20. Well, 1 goes into 20. 2 also goes into 20 because if I times 2 by 10. 3 doesn't because 3 times 6 is 18 and 7 is 21. 4 goes into 20. 5 goes into 20. 5 times 4 is 20. 6 doesn't, 7 doesn't, 8 doesn't, 9. And then 10 also goes into 20 and also 20. So these are all the factors of 20. Now let's look at 8. 1 goes into 8. 2 goes into 8. 4 goes into 8. 4 times 2 is 8. And 8 goes into 8. So I've written out all the factors, and now I've got to find the highest factor, which is common to both. So 1 is common to both, 2 is common to both, but 4 is the highest factor common. Okay, let's look at the second one now, 23 and 46. So let's write out the factors of 23. I quite like to write them out, just so that I can see them visually like I've done here. So 1 is always a factor, and this one, funnily enough, the only other factor is 23. And this is actually what's called a prime number, funny enough. A prime number is when the only two factors are 1 and itself. There's no other number in there which can times with another number to get 23. So let's look at 46 now. We've got 1 is definitely, 2 is definitely, and 23 and 46. So these are factors. These are the factors of 46. So this might take you a little longer to find this out, but I've done a fair bit of practice on this. So we have the factors now of 23 and 46. What's common to both? Well, 23 is common to both. So that's our highest common factor, equals 23. Question 4. Okay, in this question now we're looking at powers, which are these little numbers on top, and we also have root signs, which are these little square looking brackets. Now I'm about to explain what they mean. Okay, so a power. Let's use the first one as an example. 2 to the power of 3. That's what this means when you have a little number on top. And you could also say that's 2 cubed. 3, when it's a power, is called cubed. So 2 to the power of 3, what does that mean? That means 2 times 2 times 2. Or this number times by itself 3 times. Okay? Now minus the square root of 16. Now what does the square root of 16 means? Now these square root signs are kind of like the opposite of the power. Now I'll just firstly say that when you have a square root sign, which is this squared bracket here that I've just traced over, if it doesn't have a number here, see how this one has a number 3? If it doesn't have a number here, that it assumes to be 2. Now don't ask me why, but so if you don't see a number there, that's really meant to be 2 there. Okay? So this will mean, I'm going to write it up here, what to the power of 2 equals 16. That's what this square root of 16 means. So it's like the opposite. Now I know that 4 to the power of 2 is 16. So square root of 16 is 4. Now let's continue now. 2 times 2 times 2, that is 8, minus 4. My final answer here is 4. Okay, another one here. You got minus 2 in brackets all to the power of 3, or all cubed. So that will be minus 2 times minus 2 times minus 2, all in brackets, divide by, this minus 4 doesn't have a power or a square root sign, so I'll leave it as is. So let's deal with these minus 2's first. Well, minus 2 times minus 2 is positive 4, and 4 times minus 2 is minus 8. So our answer to all this will be minus 8 divided by minus 4. Now when you have a minus sign divided by a minus sign, you end up with a positive sign. So 8 divided by 4 is 2, and because they're both minus, our answer is just positive 2. Third one now. Here we have a couple of square root signs. So again, if I don't have any number here, it actually means that it's a 2 there, whereas this one's a 3. So let's write it out. What number squared equals 9? Well, 3 squared equals 9. So square root of 9 is 3 minus. Now this one here is what number to the power of 3 equals 125? Well, this will come with a bit of practice, but I know that 5 times 5 times 5 equals 125. So the overall answer to this is called cubed root of 125, is 5. So I'll rub all this out. So this turns to be 3 minus 5. And our answer to that is minus 2. Question 5. In this question, we're rounding these 3 numbers to 2 decimal places. And that means we're rounding it to 2 numbers after the decimal point. So it'd be like cutting the number off here. We only want 2 numbers after the decimal point. Now there's only one trick to this. When I'm rounding to 2 decimal places, I need to consider, writing's quite small, consider the third number. If I was rounding to 3 decimal places, I would need to consider the 4th number. So you always need to consider the number after the number of decimal places you're rounding to. Okay. Now what do I mean here by considering the third number? Well, I'm going to use these examples to demonstrate what I mean. So I need to look at this third number here, which is 2. Okay. Now if it is between 0 and 4, I round down. And this also means stay the same. Okay. Now if it's between 5 and 9, I round up. So I plus 1 to the second decimal. Okay, you're probably thinking, what the hell is going on here? So how about we use these examples to explain what I mean? I'll keep this on here because I think I might have enough room. So it's 17.962. Well, I'm looking at the third number, 2. 2 is between 0 and 4, so I keep this 6 the same. There we go, I've rounded the first one to 2 decimal places. I can also say that I've rounded down. I haven't rounded up, I've kept 6 the same. Let's look at the next one here. Looking at the third number, 5. Well, 5 is between 5 and 9, so this time I round up. Or I add 1 to the second decimal. So, in this case, 63.93. So I've added 1 to this 2. Now, last one here. This is a bit of a difficult one. Okay. Let's look at the third number, 8. So 8 is between 5 and 9. So I need to add 1 to this 9 here. Now, if I have that, I'll end up looking like 0.910 because I've added 1 to 9. But of course I can't do that because I'm only rounding to 2 decimal places. So that's not the way to go. Since I've now got 10 here. I'm going to change this just to 0. And now I'm going to add 1 to this column. So now I could have 0.10, because 9 plus 1 is 10, 0. But again, I've now still got 3 decimal places, so that doesn't help me either. So I've now got to do the same step again. I'll change this 9. Oh, sorry, it's actually a 10 now. I'll change this 10 just to 0, and I'll add 1 to the next column. So now 4 plus 1 is 5, 0.00. Now remember, you need to keep these 0.00 here, because otherwise it wouldn't be rounding to 2 decimal places. So this is as tricky as you'll see. If you have a 9 and you're rounding up, change it to 0 and add a 1 to the next column. That's my tip for that one there.